Hey everyone, this is Krystal, and today I am sharing a 12 by 12 layout using the October scrapbooking add-on kit from Citrus Twist Kits. For this layout, I wanted to create something in a grid. It's been a little while since I've done a grid layout, and I do love a grid layout. And I wanted to use some of the more vintagey pieces from this gorgeous add-on kit. I had this photo of me and my dad when I was a baby already printed out. If you've been following me, you've probably seen it. I did use it in my Project Life album. It was one that I had sent to him, I think on Father's Day, maybe. Or either that or his birthday, one day earlier this year, and it was one we hadn't seen in a while. I had dug out to send to him. So I had it printed out. I thought it would work perfectly with all of these soft pinks and vintage pieces from this kit, and decided to use that in a grid format. So I'm just going through all of the supplies. I went through the die cuts. I'm going through the papers. I'm looking for some that work with this photo and with the idea I have in my head for this grid layout. I wanted to use this little deer. There was a little kind of 3x4 card that had a deer on it, and then there was also a deer die cut. And when I see deer in scrapbooking kits or in collections, I automatically think of babies for some reason. I don't know why, but that's what I think of. So this picture of me as a baby seemed to work really well in my mind with these deer. So that's what I'm going to use. I'm going to use both of those. I probably wouldn't use them otherwise. The only other time I really use deer is when I'm doing Christmas, and these are definitely not Christmassy deer. So that's why they're both going to end up on this page. I think it ends up working really well. That one 3x4 kind of card or cut apart with the deer on it has a D is for deer, and this is my dad, so that also kind of made sense to me in some way. But anyway, I'm just cutting things up so that I can figure out what I want to use on this layout. I want to create some squares to kind of be the base for my grid. But before I do that, I want to kind of lay things out and get a feel for how it's going to go. So I'm just kind of playing around with the things I've cut up and with some of the ephemera and die cuts and cut aparts that I have pulled aside to see really what will work and how this whole page might come together. It actually ends up coming together really quickly, and that's one thing I love about a grid layout. Once you have that base down, you just add a few things on top, and really that's it. It just seems to always happen very quickly, and it's a really easy way to get a really beautiful and embellished and not busy, but well decorated, I guess, page in a very short amount of time. So that's what I'm doing here, just laying things out. I am keeping in mind, as I always do, a balance of color, a balance of light and dark, and making sure that there's a good representation of all the colors I'm using all across the page. If there is a particularly dark piece, I want to balance that out, typically on a diagonal when I am doing a grid like this. So really, really simple page, but I really love the end result, and I hope you do too. So once I have kind of an idea of what each square is going to contain, I'm going to make sure that I adhere these down in the correct position. So I'm using my T-square ruler to get them straight and to get them centered. I am not great at math, so it takes me a minute to get this all situated where I want it to be. Once I do, I add just a tiny bit of adhesive to the center of each of these squares because I'm going to pull over my sewing machine and stitch each one of these down all the way around the outside of the squares. So I'm going to do some wonky stitching, mostly because I'm also not great at stitching, or at least not stitching straight. So it will be a little bit wonky, but I really like the texture that the stitching adds, and I like that it's an easy way to get them to stick down very quickly and permanently. So I've glued all of those down just a little bit, and then I'm going to bring out my sewing machine. I have just white thread in my sewing machine. I generally just keep white thread in there because that's what I use most often, but I think it would have also been really pretty to use a pink thread on this one. But for this, I just used white. So I didn't make you watch that whole process, but they're all stitched down now, and I can start to bring back those piles of embellishments that I had previously figured out I wanted to use. But before I glue anything down, I want to figure out my title. So I have that together. It's actually vellum. It's part of the die cut pack that was in this kit. I have that in the top corner, and I want to use that as part of my title, but I wanted to add something to it. I just wasn't sure what to add, so I grabbed the puffy stickers that came in the kit, the thickers, and I was looking at those to figure out what I might use, and I couldn't really decide. So instead, I went to this bottom corner and decided to start gluing those little bits down. I did use some foam tape just to add a little bit of dimension to the page. I really like the look of the shadows behind the dimensional pieces. So it doesn't add a lot of thickness or depth to the page, but it does add enough to give just a little bit more interest. Once I had that glued down, I moved to the top right corner. I really love this gold ampersand piece that was in the die cut pack, but I needed to back it because you could see all those different pieces behind it. So I just used a little scrap of one of the papers to back that, and then added the vellum rose and a tag and a little camera. You can see I'm not sticking to these squares, meaning I'm allowing my embellishments to go outside of the squares. The grid is just kind of the suggested base of this page, and then the things can kind of flow out around it. I really like that look when I'm doing a grid page. So I'm letting things kind of seep outside of each of the squares on all four parts of the grid. I did the same with my photo, added a little bit of foam behind it to give it a little bit of dimension and help things kind of stand out. I also added dimension behind that camera piece, and I'm adding dimension behind this die cut that's going behind my title as well. So all four parts of the grid have some kind of dimension behind them, just in different parts and in different ways to give it a little bit more interest. So because I'm going to be adding some of that gold, those gold puffy stickers to my title, I wanted to add them a couple other places as well. So I'm using just a few of these little leaf pieces behind some of the gold, or rather the die cut floral pieces. I'm using the gold behind them to give them some kind of gold leaves. And I really like the way that that looks because I've popped some of them up. It's really easy to just stick those behind there. And then to finish out my title, I'm going to use the you and me from these gold thickers to spell out you and me together. To adhere the vellum, I just used a tiny bit of tape runner behind the darker parts of the vellum, and you actually can't see it at all. So I was really happy that that turned out really well, and I was able to adhere those down without being able to see the adhesive. So I'm just finishing off the page now. I'm going to add a few small puffy stickers, both from this puffy sticker set and from that larger, thicker set, some gold hearts, some puffy florals, and then the very last thing I'll do is add just a few enamel dots from the Life Crafted kit. So those weren't part of the scrapbooking add-on, they were in the Life Crafted kit, but the colors worked absolutely perfectly with the colors in the scrapbooking add-on. So I decided to add a few of those as well. And then that's going to be it. I don't add any journaling to this page. I will probably add just a few lines to the back of the page. I could have easily made one of those tags a journaling piece that kind of slid out from behind one of the squares, but I didn't think of it at the time. So my journaling will go on the back of my page. And that's it. That's the page all done. I hope that you enjoyed watching this video and found some inspiration for using your scrapbooking add-on kit. I believe the kit is sold out now, but you can still get the Life Crafted kit in the Citrus Twist Kits shop. So be sure to go check that out if you don't have one already. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you all back here very soon.